Oh, I'm live, guys. I am live. I'm with you tonight. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate y'all. And now that we got the fake pleasantries out of the way, I'm going to talk about the most important issue of the night. And it's an issue that's going to stay on my heart for a long time. Mr. Brett Crozier, he was a Navy captain who did the right thing. Okay, I'm kind of being sarcastic. I'm not going to care about Brett Crozier in a very short amount of time. The only reason I'm talking about him really is because he's trending. But I'm honest with you guys. Like I said, that those pleasantries were fake at the beginning, and I only care about the guy for the fact he's trending. I'm one of the real guys. I'm one of the guys you should listen to right now. So here's my really hot take on this guy. Basically, he spoke out against the Navy administration and their policies regarding coronavirus because he had many infected crew members himself, and he was fired by the Secretary of the Navy, I believe, and he was just now reinstated. And I mean, first of all, just do based on my initial take, good for him. Good that we have people like that in government right now, and like people that really do care about their subordinates first. Because I think that like in really negative times, obviously that gets lost in the flood a little bit. But I'm really glad that he did that. The one thing that it makes me think about though is the personalities of the people that we elect. And you know what I'm doing? Oh fuck. I've been doing this like I can't even sorry, the mic's not picking me up at all. I probably should start over, but I mean I'm not going to. So it kind of leads me on my first topic of this guy doing the right thing, getting fired, getting reinstated. And in my mind, the fact that he got reinstated isn't that big of a positive because just the fact that they could fire him to begin with is a huge power play, right? Like that scare where you might not be able to feed your family, that your entire, especially in the military, where you've devoted your entire life to it, all that training, all that time, all those weekends away, all that risking your life, like just the fact that they can symbolically fire him and literally fire him says enough. How many people in that position, knowing that that's what's at stake, even superficially, are going to be afraid to speak out, and again, it's like it's easy to look at that from an outsider's perspective and be like, oh, you should still, oh, god damn it, I'm not close to the mic. I keep fucking forgetting that. I try to get comfortable, and then I always get away from the mic and I can't fucking hold the mic, right? I look fucking I look weird if I hold the mic. But basically, like, what was I talking about? I was talking about the guy. Oh, and the fact that, he gave that criticism and he got fired for even a few days is still huge. I mean, it's in terms of like thinking about it in the shoes of somebody who knows things that are going on that could get them in trouble. Like, oh man, you got reinstated, big fucking whoop. How often does that not happen? How often does that just go under the rug? And also, what this I think is important in this situation is this has to do with the biggest news story going on right now. That's why his heroism was put out there in the media. That's why I'm even talking about it right now because it's trending. But how many other issues, especially within the military, considering the fact that they're our fighting force, they're the people that we they're a big fighting force. They're a big part of our country, a very important part of our country. Like how many issues that affect them even more and maybe on the net whole affect more people, like don't even get talked about. Again, that superficial firing, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Even like think about it from the perspective of like devoting your whole life into the military and then even going down a rank, or like getting points. I don't know shit about them. You can just, it was pretty funny. Like, sorry, I'm going to pause and take a sip of coffee and meditate on my words. But when I commented on Dan Crenshaw being a warmonger on Facebook, many people could tell by my profile picture that I'd never been in the military. And I got a big kick out of that. Like they were pretty right. And I want to acknowledge that I'm aware of that right now. But that's sort of what like Mr. Crozier's story made me think of. And it moves me on to my next point, which is my biggest Trump criticism. Because I think that in some of my previous videos, I've kind of come off as someone who's incredibly pro-Trump. and or maybe like hinting at a Trump guy, but that's really not my most honest position. What I really feel first and foremost is distrust of the government at a fundamental level. I think can be a great thing. So, and when it all comes down to it, I support people who distrust the president more than I support any president. Because even if like I'm sitting across the table from my uncle at Thanksgiving and he's just like spouting off like shit that I 98% has been debunked and that I disagree with, the fact that my angry uncle is opinionated on that matter, and by the way, I don't have an uncle like that, I just want to say, but that's just an example. But the fact that he's opinionated is what really matters. And I'm gonna kind of go back to that later, so I don't want to touch on it too much. But I want to get to an honest criticism of Trump, which is I think that for this crisis and the kind of personality he is, which basically he's an internet troll, and that's why he got elected. He was great at playing the media against itself and getting the proper coverage and looking like somebody who was an outsider. To the average man, like just outside looking in. He was acting in ways like a presidential candidate never had before. He was saying things presidential candidates hadn't said in a long time. And I'm not saying like a lot of that's good, but basically a large part of his appeal and why people want to vote for him and support him is his kind of like ability to think off the fly and fly off the handle and just speak on the cusp. And I think that it goes without saying, and this is just my initial feeling, that like that kind of personality for a disease outbreak, something that requires incredible medical knowledge to like know the right thing to say, and have an informed opinion. He's awful for this. And I mean, in my mind, I just, in terms of what I've seen on video, and I haven't paid a whole hell of a lot of attention to it. Yeah, I think he could be doing a much better job. And I also think that the kind of candidate Trump was and the kind of political personality he is, which is an internet troll, basically, like I kind of want to make a comparison to Hitler. Like when Jordan Peterson was on H3H3, he made the point that, Hitler was being guided by the screams of the people, basically. Like he formed his speeches around what was already popular. So it's like, it wasn't like Hitler kind of created the culture around him. Like Hitler was a product of the undertone and the feeling of that country at the time. And I think that, like, in my mind, like, just to make a comparison, that Trump in many ways represents like the internet troll of our times and the time that we live in now, where it's more about being a reactionary and getting a rise from someone than it is to have honest political discourse. And I think it's just such a natural byproduct of like a huge amounts of technology and so many options. Like when you have Netflix and Facebook and Twitter and all this shit, it's like there's only so much you can really focus on, and it's easy to be misinformed, like so. Well, okay, and I'm sorry. Like I guess my point is like we live in a culture where there's lots of trolls, where that gets attention. And I think like much like those yells kind of revealed something about Germany and the nature of their people at that time. I mean, Trump revealed something about the nature of American society and political discourse at this time, that it's just basically watered down. And watered down is a great word for it. He's maybe not terrible, but he's definitely watered down. And so, yeah, like I guess that's my thoughts on Trump. Like, where do you agree or disagree with me? And also, like, what do you think the line is between being a supporter of a political candidate and being a skeptic when it comes to the government? Well, yeah, what's a personal line for you guys is what I want to know. Number two thing I want to talk about is proper use of the word retard, because I watched Louis C.K.'s special recently, and he actually has a really good and thoughtful bit on it where he makes the point that when he was a kid back in the 1970s, retard was just the term that they used. It was never an insult. It was just a label, pure and simple. And that was what they were thought of, and that was their identity. And it really made me think, because this is an issue I care about. I'm mildly developmentally disabled myself. You could probably already tell without me having to say it. And I'm not one of those guys that's like never or retard. I think retard is used too much. I think it should never be used to make fun of anybody who's mentally handicapped or make anybody feel bad about their shortcomings. It should never be used in the comments because it's not true. I'm not a fucking, you know what? No matter what you think, I am not a fucking retard, so it should never be used there. Nor should any kind of insult be used or criticism that I don't like, or you will be banned. No, I'm just half kidding. But don't call me a retard, though. No, I'm kidding. You can call me whatever the fuck you want. If you comment calling me a retard, I would actually be really happy. My heart would like jump, because not only did you comment on my video, you commented about something I specifically spoke on. So thank you. Like you just made me the happiest retard on the planet. But anyway, look, what I was saying is in certain times, like it just come together. There's certain circumstances where the retard is perfect. And it's the best example of it's just the best word to use. It's not even the best. It's the only word to use. Like I'm going to give you an example. And my thinking is when retard, or like when someone says retard, the most proper execution of that word is somebody who has a way too high opinion of their intellect, someone who's made it way too far in life, okay? Way too fucking far, has way too much power over the population, too much fucking power. And so, wait, I forgot the three. I already forgot it. So made it too far, way high opinion of themselves, way high opinion of their intellect, has a tone where they talk down to you, if they millennial splain, so to speak. And I happen to find, and I'm happy to share with you guys, the perfect example of a retard. And that is Michigan Governor, Miss Michelle, Gretchen Whitmer. I don't really care what her name is. I mean, like I said, her most important label is the one we're being discussed, retard. So this retard is the governor of Michigan. And funny enough, I looked at her Wikipedia page, and just to give you an idea of the kind of person that she is, and I'm totally getting this off Wikipedia, but I know I'm mostly right because we're talking about a retard here. So I'm just going to drop some truth bombs. So in her previous political career, again, this is the governor of Michigan. Okay. She was only appointed that position because the previous prosecutor had gotten into legal trouble, and he was personally appointed by her to handle his case. Okay. And she said that while there were problems with the prosecutor's office, they left with Mr. Dennings, the guy that I replaced, or who handpicked me to replace him. So basically, like, she made a name for herself, helping a criminal get off with bullshit because he's white collar, because he's not poor and dark skinned, and can afford fancy lawyers, and can afford people like Karen Whitmer to fucking stick up for him and use a fucking eraser to just forget everything he did. I don't even know what he did, but you know what? That's so unimportant when you consider the fact how many people like him get away with shit like this every day because of people like this fucker who's a governor. So yeah, like again, that's why she's a retard. She has more power than me. Okay, here's what she said. I didn't even like get to it. So that's just like a preview of the kind of piece of shit she is. Okay, so this is a direct quote. President Trump called this a war, and it is exactly that. So let's act like it. In World War II, there weren't people lining up at the Capitol to protest the fact that they had to drop everything, what they were doing, to build tanks or ration food. Okay, which by the way, let's pause there, because based on my 8th grade history level of education here, I can tell Governor Whitmer, again, governor, let's underline retard Whitmer. Yes, several people protested World War II. What the fuck are you talking about? It was a very unpopular war. And you know what? And by the way, it's like there were people lining up to the Capitol to protest the fact, okay, so she just spoke for the people, right? Like, what right does she have to do that? Even if the majority of the war people supported the war at the time, that completely negates the purpose of the freedom of speech in this country. So, man, because most people didn't do something, that means that like you can just discount the people who had a dissent and like spoke their voice. So it's like, yeah, okay, fuck it. You get what I'm saying. That part's bullshit. This is where it gets really retarded, though. They rolled up their sleeves, okay, and got to work. And this is where, god damn it, how much of my show have I been away from the fucking mic? I'm so fucking ADHD, god damn it. I don't even know that I'm doing it. Okay, but just the fact that, okay, and this is where, like, again, I just want to break down where the word retard becomes most appropriate is, she said, they got, okay, hold on, oh, they rolled up their sleeves and they got to work. Okay, got to work. Yeah, you're right. They got to work, Governor Retard. And the problem, Retard, is that with this current crisis, people can't get to work. Your laws, for better or worse, have removed that option from them. You know, like, and it's like, how do you not like see that? Like, she doesn't even know what's going on. Like, I don't even know if she knows why people are pissed. Like, I think, again, I would say that she's insulated, maybe, and in a crazy fucking time. No, she's just fucking retarded. You know, she's a retarded woman. You know, and it's like how can you be that callous? Again, to use those words, and they got to work. It's like, this is going to be, I think, if not already at the levels of the Great Depression or some levels, this is the greatest economic devastation we've ever faced. And I don't know what the right answer is. And I know that if I were in Governor Whitmer's position, I would probably make some bad decisions. But I would never so eloquently prove that I have no idea what the issue is. I have no idea why my constituency is mad at me. I have no idea of the downside of what I was doing. You know, and it's just like, again, it's retard. Like, that's a retard. You know, like, you deserve the term fucking retard. Like, because she's a retard that, I mean, potentially, like, could cause dozens of suicides. Dozens, yeah. You know, like, if they don't get back to work, if people lose their livelihood, like, and who knows what else that's going to cause. What else? What other ripple effect that's going to have? And again, that might not be a fair standard to put on every politician all the time. Like, I understand that there's things I don't know. I understand there's gray area, but what the fuck? You know, to get back to work, like, fuck you. Like, no, like tell us when we can get back to work. We want to get back to work. We want to get back to feeding our families. And why? And it's like, and how do you put the onus, like the blame on people for wanting to do that? You know, like, I can't even imagine that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's a politician that, honestly, to me, is just so far removed from anything that her, I've already just said the word constituency, but anything that her voters are going through, you know, just obviously isn't a fucking civic servant, you know, and shouldn't be in there. Like, we deserve better than this shit, you know. And again, I keep going back to this, like, local and, I'm sorry, like, national elections might be to a certain degree rigged. I think you could argue that successfully, but local and state elections are way more fair. And also, it doesn't take as much to really cause a drastic change. You know, like, to get a Whitmer out of office, I mean, this was the case before, not now with coronavirus, but to get a Whitmer out of office wouldn't be that hard. Like, you know, like, just really, like, yeah, I hopefully, like, if there's someone out there listening to me, or like just anybody who hears this story, I hope that they're motivated to really look into this more, because, I mean, I know that I'm more motivated to look into my governor and what my state's doing. And the other thing I wanted to say about this was, good coffee. Let's see here. I guess I don't have anything else I want to say. I mean, she's a retard. When is the most? Oh, and I'm almost done. Hey, All right, so I want to end this with a few comments, a few movie reviews actually, and then I'll have a word of wisdom for you guys. So I'm a big movie buff. It's one of my defining characteristics, and um, I saw a really good movie. First of all, called The Bicycle Thieves, and it's widely regarded as one of the best movies ever made. And that's, I mean, obviously that's a pretty high bar to hold. And I watched it, and it wasn't like an attention grabber necessarily. It's something that I need to revisit. I want to revisit again, but that final scene really stuck with me. And what the plot of the movie is it's about post-war um, Italy, Rome, I believe. And this there's rapid unemployment, and this man needs a bicycle to um, do his job. And like they have to sell sheets so he can get the bicycle. They give everything they have, and he gets a paycheck on his first day. And I believe it's on the second day, like someone steals it. And the whole movie is him and his son trying to find this bicycle. But it's not just about the bicycle as the movie goes on, like the bicycle is like a symbol of hope. Like things are really bad right now. Like we're destitute, we're poor, but we don't know what's going to happen. But like I have this bicycle, I have this first step, I have this fresh start. And um, there's a scene towards the end of the movie where it just so perfectly sums up the mentality that I'm trying to have through um, through this time. And I guess I'll spoil it because honestly, like if you're gonna watch The Bicycle Thief, I mean you're a film buff. I don't know if you're really in it for the plot twist or for the style. So basically at the end of the movie, he steals a bicycle himself and he gets caught. And I mean, when he got caught, like that was a really heart sinking moment for me. Like I was so invested in the movie. And like the man sees that he's with his son and decides not to press charges. And basically, um, the people that catch him say, like, you're lucky your son's here. And the last line in the movie is, like, you should thank God, you know? And it's like, hey, like, even though he did lose his bike, even though he was humiliated, even though he didn't have the first step he thought he had, like, he realizes that he has his son. He has people that love him, like that tomorrow is another day, that there's God. You should still thank God and never like completely be um uh just overwhelmed by what's happening to you. So yeah, watch The Bicycle Thieves. Um and the other movie I want to talk about, actually, what time is it? 22 minutes. Fuck. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna end this one. Because yeah, it's gone on for like 23 minutes. Hey, whoever's watching, I appreciate you. Again, I'm not sure if it's just some glitch where it's just I count as one person, but all the same, thank you. And yeah, I'm signing off. Good night, guys.